It is the Sporting Tribune Today, episode 8. We've done so many episodes, I actually forgot count before we hit record on this. But joining us to bring in the new year is the founder, the CEO of the Sporting Tribune, of course, the Jefe, Arash Markazi. Arash, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm ready to go, gearing up for a big year, the first full year for the Sporting Tribune. So we'll start right there. Whether it's personally, whether it's with the Sporting Tribune, Arash, for yourself, what are your goals this year in 2023?
Well, just to grow the company and continue to cover Southern California, Las Vegas, and Hawaii in a unique way, bringing diverse voices that represents the cities that we cover. And again, I think this show, and I'm not just saying this because, the great host that you are, I think I personally learned a lot from the staff tuning in to the show, and just try to continue to grow the company and figure out new ways to reach sports fans out there, because I come from a time period where you only got your sports news from traditional, the newspaper, talk radio, things like that. I mean, there's so many ways for us to reach and connect with fans now.
No, 100%. And even out there on social media, of course, this drops every
Yeah.
Friday. Later on today, if you are listening to us here Friday morning, we got the spaces going on at 5 p.m. on our Twitter. And we're just trying to be active as much as we can on all the social media platforms. And before we get into the sports, you are a man of many talents. You report and talk about a lot of things. And on January 10th, you tweeted out that In-N-Out is opening up a restaurant in Tennessee in locations in Nashville in 2026. So as someone who, of course, you're a West Coast guy, you're a
Yeah.
Cali guy. I'm now a West Coast person living out here for 4 or 5
Okay.
or 6 years, but I'm an
Yeah.
East Coast guy originally. I know this is a holy grail for you guys. How do you feel about them dipping their toes away from the West Coast?
They've been doing this for quite some time. I mean, the big move for us was when they went to Texas, right? I mean, they originally went to Vegas, no problem there. It's kind of like a home away from home. Phoenix, okay, you kind of going a little further. I think they went to Utah as well. I'm not 100% sure, but Texas was the big one. And Texas, I think it's been 10 years plus since they've done that. So once they did that, once they went to Texas, that's when I was like, all right, they're going to expand. To be honest, prior to this, now they're going to dip their toes in Tennessee. They have not. They've really kind of kept true to like a handful of locations. Again, California, Vegas, maybe Utah, Texas. So now it does look like they are going to venture and go all the way to Nashville.
How are you on their fries? Just personally, like, because to
So
me,
I like the animal style fries. I don't like just regular fries. And so for those not familiar, that's the fries, really drenched in their sauce, cheese, grilled onions. But yes, listen, I know what you mean. Their fries are the kind that you really need to have as soon as they're like off the cooker. I mean, as if they're hot and they're well salted, I think they're fine. But if you let those sit, I mean, it's like cardboard. You can't,
they're
it's
like the
not
classic Lay's of fries, basically,
exactly.
honestly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
with that, let's get into the sports. And I want to start off with USC and some college football talk. First and foremost, Reggie Bush elected to the College Football Hall of Fame. Is it he's getting his jersey reinstated or like retired again at the Coliseum? Is that
So
true?
that has been talked about. I think that'll happen at some point. It's not official. USC has been in talks to do that for quite some time. And again, USC can do that. I mean, USC has the ability to do a lot of things. The College Football Hall of Fame is no small. When you look at the process that we have to go through here, when you look at Bush getting his Heisman back, I think there's a few things in play. He gets his jersey back retired at the Coliseum. He gets into the College Football Hall of Fame. Enough of these things begin to happen, and it's like, listen, he was a Hall of Fame player, and so there's no reason why he should not get the Heisman Trophy back.
And my question too is, I want to go down memory lane with you at the height of Liner and Reggie Bush and everything. Um, how important is Reggie Bush to Southern California? I guess is the question I'm trying to ask.
When you talk to a lot of younger recruits, I mean, he was this generation's, when I look back to our time, whether it's, Charles Woodson or Deion Sanders or these really transcendent players where like if you're not a USC fan, if you're not a college football fan, you know of Reggie Bush, you know of number 5. And now that he's part of the college football pregame show on Fox, he's on these commercials. I mean, he is a superstar and everyone knows who he is. And so I think, you pull Heisman, the guys who won the Heisman Trophy, they all took something. I mean, I think at this point they can safely say that and not be concerned about a backlash. I mean, the fact of the matter is college football players are getting paid now. So listen, it doesn't take away from what he did on the field. He didn't get paid to play. He didn't take steroids. He didn't hurt anybody. Yes, his family, had a nice home in San Diego that they lived in. But listen, it had nothing to do with his performance on the field.
And he also, if you think of it, like as YouTube was emerging, he's one of those first players in any sport to have those highlight reels on YouTube that people are watching. As far as USC currently now and the future, disappointing end of the season.
Yeah.
Game away from making it to the college football playoff. They lose the Cotton Bowl. Caleb Williams wins the Heisman. How excited are you for the future of USC football?
Listen, I want to be excited, but they made the decision to bring back the defensive coordinator. And I really felt, watching how the last 2 games of that season played out, when you looked at their loss to Utah in the Pac-12 championship game, and you look at their loss to Tulane in the Cotton Bowl, in those 2 games, giving up 95, 93 points combined against Tulane, giving up over 10 yards a play, losing a 15-point lead with 4 minutes left. I was really hoping that they would change the defensive coordinator. They did not. That being said, I still am excited. You're bringing back Caleb Williams. You're bringing back a lot of really talented players. They'll begin the season as a top 5 team, but it may still be hard for them to crack that top 4 with the defense that, unless they do something big, it's just you can't give up 10 yards of play. It's just not plausible.
No, 100%. Before we transition, I should say, into the NFL, one question I do want to ask you too is, of course, SoFi Stadium's hosted the Super Bowl now, the college football playoff, and the national championship, I should say. How did the national championship go? Obviously, there was some weather in play, and you posted a video that went viral with people falling and slipping. Because basically, I'm trying to prep myself and get ready for WrestleMania. That, again, will be hosted in SoFi Stadium here in a couple months.
Yeah, listen, you have nothing to worry about. I think that time of year, as long as it's not rain, where people get confused with SoFi. Yes, there is a roof. It's more of a covering, really. It's not a fixed roof. So it's an indoor, outdoor stadium, and it was not built for rain. And I'm really hoping that at some point they change the pavement, because the number of people that I saw slip and fall, myself, I slipped and fell. Thankfully, I didn't get hurt, but the number of people who got hurt, it was really unfortunate. And so you can never control the weather. When you bid on these big events, you don't know if it's going to be, 75 degrees and sunny. I mean, you go back a year ago, Los Angeles hosted the Super Bowl. It was almost 90 degrees and sunny. It was like a summer day. It was amazing. And then fast forward to a week ago or so for the championship game. Not only did the game suck, it was just a terrible game, but then the weather. I mean, just a torrential downpour, high winds, state of emergency in terms of the weather. Not a good look.
I did see the ticket or the food prices though. It wasn't that bad. So if you're going to WrestleMania, you're gonna have to save up. But it wasn't that bad. It could be worse. Now let's talk about some NFL football. And we'll move over here where I'm at recording this here in Las Vegas. So I want you to close your eyes, Arash, and picture this. Tom Brady, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and Rob Gronkowski. Are you in or are you out?
I'm in. I like that you included Gronk coming out of retirement. I think Gronk in Vegas would be a lot of fun.
He said he was bored 3 weeks ago on Twitter. Right? He said he's bored.
Why not? Come back. I mean, listen, I think Tom Brady to Vegas makes a ton of sense. When you look at all the Super Bowls he won in New England, Josh McDaniels was his coordinator, was his coach. And so, great partnership there. and then you look at all the offensive talent that they have. And again, it's still a team in a city that you need a big star like that. And so I think it's a two-step thing for them. You use your first round pick on a quarterback, maybe CJ Stroud's available there. And then again, you allow him to learn from Tom Brady, whether that's for a year or two. That would be incredible. That would be fantastic. I would love that.
Or 5, because I think he's playing till 50.
Right?
If
It's nuts.
But here's another thing, though. Obviously Jimmy G's out there. You just brought up the first round pick with all the draft coming up. But Lamar Jackson too.
Yeah.
If you were the GM of the Raiders, what angle are you taking? Are you taking Brady, trying to go after Lamar? Is Jimmy G feasible? Let's restart with the draft. Where are you going with this?
Yeah, I mean, I would do the Brady draft pick route where you draft Brady to be your quarterback for the next, year or two or whatnot. And then, you help the young quarterback come up. What Brady enables you to do is just, have a superstar. Vegas, like Los Angeles, is a superstar driven town. And so what Brady would do was just, and again, not that they have a problem selling tickets, but Vegas has a similar problem to Los Angeles, where you have these people from around the country where if they look at their schedule, that's their one road trip. They're going to Vegas or they're going to Los Angeles. So you do have a lot of these 50-50 crowds, which is not great. I think with Brady, you'd get a lot of, 12 jerseys out there. You'd get a lot of, fans that are on the fringe, like, oh, like, I don't know if I want to go to a game. Oh, they signed Tom Brady. I'm totally in. So, listen, you can't go wrong with Lamar Jackson, but give me Tom Brady.
I feel you, and I'm going to keep you in the GM chair, but this time, GM of the Chargers, you bring up LA and they love stars. Brandon Staley, or let's try to go after Sean Payton.
Well, it was a no-brainer for me after the way that they lost the Jacksonville game. A 27-0 lead. And again, Staley goes into that game on the hot seat. Why the heck is Mike Williams playing in that game? It doesn't mean anything. He was out for the postseason. So Staley goes into that game on the hot seat, loses a 27-0 lead, third, worst comeback loss in postseason history. So he keeps his job, but he keeps his job because he's going to part ways with all of his offensive coaches. He fires his offensive coordinator, fires the quarterback's coach. I don't think that's enough. I do think Sean Payton is one of the top 5 coaches in the league, a Super Bowl winner, a guy, by the way, who's really known for working with quarterbacks in terms of Tony Romo when he was with the Cowboys, Drew Brees, obviously, with the Saints, what he could have meant to the development of a Justin Herbert, what he could have meant walking into that locker room wearing that Super Bowl ring and saying, hey, guys, I've been there before. I know what it takes. Staley doesn't have that. But it doesn't matter what I think, because the GM, Tom Telesco, by the way, I don't know how Tom Telesco still has a job, but he is still the GM, and Brandon Staley is still the head coach.
Poor Chargers fans. And one last NFL question before we close out with the Lakers. So look, Sean McVay, I was very surprised last year that he remained coach of the Rams. And I don't think people realize this Amazon and this TV money is so much. And the work is so much less than what you have to put in to be a head coach.
The pressure too.
100%. Now I do understand, like, hey, let's get the gang together for one more year and let's try to run this back. But with the reports that he is coming back to coach the Rams, are you surprised at this news?
I am. Listen, I'm not surprised he came back following a Super Bowl championship. There was definitely that feeling of like, let's run it back. Come on, guys. Like we did it. Let's go back. Listen, when you go 4-15 or whatever, I don't know what they were this year, but they were terrible. They were one of the worst teams in the league. At that point, I'm thinking one or two things. Like, listen, this is going to be a tough rebuild. Like, he doesn't want to be a part of this. They don't have a draft pick coming up. Obviously, they've traded those picks. But by the way, it didn't take him a long time. We heard going into that last game of the season, he's really contemplating his future. He allowed his coaches to talk to other teams. But he did decide that he's going to come back. I really think whatever TV job he wants, outside of the Monday night job, which I think like that crew is set, I think Sean McVay can get any job he wants. I really think he's that type of a talent that that contract is there. That contract's not gonna go anywhere.
I think it goes both ways though, in terms
Yeah.
of like he can go back to coaching whenever.
Yeah. Oh, well, 100%. Yeah. So I think it's a little bit harder. I think you're right though. I think when a guy goes into the booth, unless he's wired differently, it's kind of like, yeah, like you're kind of retired at that point. Now, again, a ton of guys have gone into the booth and have come back to coaching. So yeah, I mean, I really would have been surprised if he had retired following a really bad season. He is such a competitor. So I would look out for if the Rams have a good season. If they're a playoff team, if they make a run, I do think at that point he would say, okay, I'm not leaving on bad terms. I'm not leaving following a sub 500 season.
No, and I understand it speaks to the competitiveness. I just think it's so fascinating with obviously he's 36 years old. Like
Yeah.
it's a whole different generation.
Yeah.
I don't want to be Bill Belichick and spend 18 hours. He just got married. Maybe he wants to have kids, spend time with the fam. Before we close out, this situation with the Lakers is fascinating from so many different angles, but specifically want to talk about LeBron. Obviously he's close to the all-time scoring record. I think within the next 5 to 6 games. What is he, like less than 400 points away? So it's going to happen here in these next few weeks. I'm a little biased being born and raised in Cleveland. I want to know from your perspective, how big is this going to be for Laker fans? Because there's always been just that kind of stepdad vibe when it comes to LeBron, in terms of LeBron and Kobe and this, that, and who do we love, and that rivalry for so long. And then now he's finally a part of the Laker nation. But how big of a deal is this going to be for LA when he breaks that record?
It's a great question, because when he passed, as he's passed these players along the way, as he's passed, Kobe and Jordan and things like that, it hasn't moved the needle in Los Angeles because when you touched on it, he's not ours. He's not. The unfortunate thing for LeBron is his high watermark with this team came during the pandemic in Florida. No fans, no parade, no rally, no nothing. He really had a moment there, following the passing of Kobe, and when he took the mic and he gave the speech he did. I mean, he was a Laker through and through. And I don't want to admit, I feel he's a Laker. Listen, I mean, he's been here for 5 years, but there is this feeling of, man, like that one shining moment happened during that weird, crazy year. The year before that, they missed the playoffs. The year after that, they get bounced in the first round. Last season, they missed the playoffs. This year, it's looking like either they're going to miss the playoffs or go back, get bounced in the first round. It's really the most forgotten championship in Lakers history, and I hate to say it. So you bring up a great point. I don't think it'll be a moment that Lakers fans rejoice over. If you're a LeBron fan, you're going to rejoice over it. I'll be happy with LeBron, but it's not the same as Kobe. Again, Kobe spent his entire 20-year career here. It can't be the same.
No, you're right. And Arash, as we leave you and continue the podcast, I just want to let Laker Nation know, enjoy him before he goes back to Cleveland.
Exactly. Well, he basically effectively said he's going to finish his career by playing one last year with his son, Bronny. So listen, if the Cleveland Cavaliers are in position to draft Bronny, I really think no matter where Bronny goes, that's where LeBron would go. So he might finish his career in Cleveland, might finish his career here. I really do think that is his goal. No matter where Bronny goes, that's where he will be done with his career. But by the way, we've never seen anyone, and you can appreciate this having watched him his entire career, at 38 years old, year 20. I mean, he almost had a 50-point triple-double, and we've never seen anything remotely close to this. It's incredible.
Meanwhile, Russell Westbrook's trying to take the game-winning shot against, oh my Lord.
Yeah, no.
We could talk for hours, but we got to continue the show. Arash Markazi, as always, Happy New Year, my friend. I look forward to seeing where the Sporting Tribune goes in 2023.
I appreciate you. Thank you.